A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. Thank you so much for joining us. Domestic air flights in Nigeria are expected to resume at all airports by the 21st of June this year, 3 months after the federal government closed the nation's airspace following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. With many countries across the world gradually easing lockdown measures and air travel most especially preparing for recovery takeoff. Our background report takes a look at how airports and airlines across the world are preparing to resume flights, plus an outlook at the aviation cargo subsector.
Aviation is undoubtedly one of the industries hit hardest by the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. As countries across the world ease travel restrictions, airlines face a prolonged uphill climb before air travel demand recovers to pre-pandemic levels. Starting in Saudi Arabia, 11 airports reopened on the 31st of May for domestic flights as the country eases restrictions put in place to fight the spread of the coronavirus.
There will be 11 airports resuming on May the 31st. 2 more airports will follow, and so on. It will be gradual, as per the concerned authorities' guidelines. From this gradual reopening process, we want to achieve an operational efficiency that will guarantee the safety of the passengers by avoiding congestion or pressure on the terminals or the planes, while applying social distancing and other recommendations from the Ministry of Health to ensure safe flights, God willing.
Over in Europe, Ireland's Ryanair and Britain's EasyJet airlines are making masks mandatory on all flights as part of efforts to combat COVID-19. As nationwide lockdowns ease across Europe, Ryanair's main airline unit says the company's new guidelines mirror those set out by European aviation authorities.
It's all about passenger responsibility. It's about distancing where possible, reinforcing, making people feel safe about the air filtration systems, stopping contact as much as possible on board, and the use of masks. And we've been on about this for the last number of weeks, and now, based on the science from the EU Commission, who've tasked EASA, who are the European Air Safety Agency, and the European Centre for Disease Control, and they've come together with these guidelines, and they mirror what we've already released.
Britain is also introducing a COVID-19 quarantine for travellers arriving from abroad from June 8. That's coming from the country's Interior Minister, one measure that airlines have warned will devastate their industry.
International arrivals to self-isolate for 14 days. That is the incubation period of the virus, so that if people have become infected overseas, we can limit the spread of the virus at home.
We are going to move into this post-lockdown period, and the narrative about quarantines isn't how you manage it. They're pointless. They're pointless because you can't police them. So what do you do when somebody arrives into the UK and gets on the Gatwick Express or the Heathrow Express? What do you do? Quarantine all the people on the track and trace everybody who's on those forms of mass transportation? Like, it's unimplementable. What you got to do is masks, regular hand washing, coughing etiquette, etc.
From the United Kingdom to Dubai, as Emirates Airline announced it had made some staff redundant due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, with company sources saying trainee pilots and cabin crew are hugely affected. Emirates had earlier said that the Dubai government's commitment to provide it with equity injections will allow it to preserve its skilled workforce. Next port of call is Latin America, where LATAM Airlines Group, the continent's largest carrier, has filed for U.S. bankruptcy protection, becoming the world's largest carrier so far to seek an emergency reorganization due to the coronavirus pandemic. The filing highlights the financial weakness of Latin America's carriers following a similar bankruptcy earlier in May 2020 by the region's number 2 airline, Avianca Holdings. But unlike Avianca, which experienced management turmoil and losses, Chile's LATAM posted profits for the last 4 consecutive years, totaling more than $700 million. LATAM had also approved a dividend payment this year, in contrast to other carriers that have halted payouts. LATAM will continue to fly through its bankruptcy restructuring.
Martes 26 de mayo.
To the airline group and its subsidiaries in Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, voluntarily agreed to a recognition under Chapter 11 of the United States of America. This process is a legal framework that is designed to allow companies to pause, recognize their debts, adapt quickly to the new environment, resize the group more efficiently, and secure new sources of financing. During this process, the group's operations will continue as usual, and this decision will not affect our measures to resume operations without sparing any effort to comply with the highest security standards that characterize us.
LATAM is an instantly recognizable brand for South Americans, dominating international air travel in the region, as well as a leading domestic flight operator in Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Argentina, Peru, and Ecuador. Now to Switzerland. Travelers at Zurich and Geneva's airports will encounter robot cleaners, face mask vending machines, and extra room to queue for boarding when flight operations resume in earnest. Airlines such as Lufthansa units, Swiss International, Edelweiss Air, and EasyJet plan to ramp up service in the weeks ahead as borders begin to reopen this June.
We don't expect that. In fact, we feel that the people have a strong wish to go back and to travel. Of course, there will be probably for the near future a lower amount in terms of business travel. We believe that leisure travel will increase more quickly. But at the end of the road, we expect a demand more or less on the known level.
Flohan Zurich and Geneva Airport ground services outfits, Swissport, and Airport Police are collaborating on safety measures to comply with federal health authorities' guidelines. The steps include more frequent cleaning of handrails and baggage carts, hundreds of hand sanitizers and plexiglass panels at all desks. Vending machines run by Selecta will dispense face masks and sanitizer.
Our sanitary measures will be that we do strongly recommend every passenger to wear a face mask. Every aircraft will be disinfected after every rotation with a special product that will last about 24 hours for its protection on all surfaces of the aircraft. We will reduce service on board to a minimum to avoid too much inter-human contact, and we also have this great air circulation in the aircraft that reduces the contamination risk.
In Italy, the country is hoping tourists will return to the country from early June when it reopens its borders to European Union countries. Rome's International Fiumicino Airport has ramped up its safety measures ahead of the regulation relaxation. Thermal scanners, temperature checks, sanitation stations are just a few of the many new safety policies that have been introduced at the airport to allow for a safe return to the skies during the pandemic.
A wide safety mechanism has been adopted in air transport for months now, and it has been gradually strengthened with the measures imposed by the authorities. These measures keep the risk of circulation of the virus in the air transport chain at the lowest possible level. We can accept this level of risk, but in any case, it will not be higher than the risk in the places that are normally frequented by passengers. In this way, people should not be afraid or worried of taking a plane because they will not be exposed to a higher risk than the one they could find in public places.
All passengers and staff will have to wear face masks, and after security checks, travelers must show documents declaring the reason of their travel to policemen. Back home in Nigeria, domestic flights are to resume operations by June 21st. The country's airport and airspace were shut in March As part of efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, industry stakeholders are to develop protocols towards flight resumption.
Players in Nigeria's domestic air travel sector have 3 weeks to put their acts together for a reopening. Technical and health matters must be handled to ensure passenger safety and confidence. That's coming from the Minister of Aviation, REKIK, who explained the modalities at the Presidential Task Force briefing on COVID-19 in Abuja.
An industry that is highly regulated, borders on safety and efficiency. So we have looked at all the things that we need to do to be able to open. They are broadly divided into 2 broad classifications. The first is that there is a technical aspect of it, and then there is a health side of it. On the technical aspect, there are the aircraft themselves that have been parked for about 3 months, not being run. We have to ensure that within now and that time, these airplanes are good and safe to fly. The maintenance for aircraft is either usage or calendar time, whichever comes first. And there are protocols to storages of such craft, either for short term, for long term, or forever. That is being done currently, so the airline industry needs to be able to bring those machines to safe operations. There are issues that are affecting also the flight crews and the cabin crews to get them to be able to come and get their license valid for this, for the operations. There are also the issues of medicals, that every pilot has a medical license or medical permit that states that he's physically fit and well enough to carry out safe operations. Within this period, some of them will fall short and they need to do their medicals. The airports where these activities will be done. So all the standards and recommended practices are the same. And we have to conform to those international standards and regulatory practices. On the health side, there is how the passenger will ensure that he has wearing a mask, perhaps a face shield, physical distancing, clean surfaces, getting the airports back to accept this new culture, new way, new system of travel all over again. You will agree with me that it's huge. We didn't sit idle after closing the airport to say, okay, well, until when they announce a new date will start. No. But we must start in a very orderly, organized, safe, efficient manner so that we will achieve the intent and purpose of air travel, which is safety, efficiency, and in a very secured manner. This 3 months, we've lost people flying, and which means that salaries cannot even be paid because no income is being made. The question to the international, some countries definitely will run faster than others. But I can tell you that huge countries with huge population and huge aviation activity, such as Nigeria, will definitely need caution. We need us to reflect on safety and efficiency of the industry. 200 million people on 923,766 square kilometers. It's really enormous and calls for every single action that will ensure safe operations. Certainly, it is not for anybody who has money to fly on the private jet from Kano to Lagos or Port Harcourt. No. We still maintain and insist that it must be either for health reasons, for humanitarian, banking and finance, oil and gas, power and agriculture.
Cargo operations may hold the lifeline for the survival of airlines amid the crippling coronavirus crisis. Even with the gradual lifting of travel restrictions across the globe, experts say the industry may not recover in a long time to come. 2 of British Airways Boeing 777-200s have had their seats and interiors removed to increase their cargo carrying capacity. The airline says with demand for passengers travel still very low, working with cargo, British Airways is trying to use its grounded aircraft in creative ways to support in the global fight against COVID-19. Air cargo rates have risen sharply following the withdrawal of passenger aircraft belly capacity amid fleet groundings. African carrier Ethiopian Airlines has also been converting its passenger planes to cargo in a bid to help the company to diversify and overcome a drastic downturn in passenger revenue.
We have been converting passenger aircraft to cargo aircraft. We have converted 20 of them. It depends on the fleet, but it took 36 hours and less. And we have been doing this for the past 2 months.
Ethiopian Airlines has recorded a loss of $550 million between January and April 2020, but the demand for cargo has increased mainly due to the demand in Europe and America for personal protective equipment and medical supplies to tackle the virus.
The majority are importers of COVID-19 personal protection equipment and medical supplies. And these are located in Africa, in Europe and America, and particularly Europe in the beginning when the COVID-19 spread was very high. We are a little bit more optimistic, so we see some kind of maybe 50% recovery in the summer because it's a summer peak. And we see that people are sick and tired of the lockdown, as you can see in Europe and America. Governments are opening, even people are also going out because people were not meant to be locked down.
Here in Nigeria, cargo operations has been on the essential list while the airspace restrictions persisted. A major stakeholder in the cargo chain explains the challenges of storage.
During this COVID-19, we completed our own quotas to the COVID-19. Even essential services were not locked down. So we were running during this period, looking at the outside of it, but of course safety, and we were running, we were paying our staff, and also we are running generators to keep the cold rooms functioning. We are also securing, breaking down these goods and services. Of course, we are also asking government to come and everybody looking for palliatives. Okay, see, government, we've lost so money, but if you are considering palliative in aviation industry, please consider this sector of aviation industry.
Around 40% of annual global air cargo is typically transported in the belly hold of passenger aircraft. With this capacity down, profit margins are also low.
We do so much but earn so little. Let me say the entire ground handling company in Nigeria, we have a staff strength of about, direct staff strength of more than 4,000 people. So see what is going to happen if today we just wake up and we cannot even provide salary for those number of staff. And one of the things that we owe them is salary, because they are working, and at the end of the day, they deserve to be paid.
For the International Air Transport Association, it would like to see various governments reduce delay in permit approvals, as much as possible reduce quarantine measures, and provide support on the ground, which will help to reduce the hampering of movement of cargo flights carrying vital medical supplies and other necessities where needed. It's a story of a trade switch to get through the coronavirus pandemic times. Meet one of Thai's Airlines cabin crew, Tawanan. She's now a hairdresser, running a tiny salon out of her spare bedroom. With many airline fleets still grounded, individuals like Tawanan have to find new jobs to support themselves after realizing that her monthly base salary of around $934 without flying allowance wouldn't get her through.
The reason that I'm cutting people's hair is that I have this skill, and while barbers are closed, I can cut hair for my friends. The money that I get from cutting hair is incomparable to being a cabin crew. I earn only about $4 from each customer, but at least it can help support my meal expenses or pay for my electricity bills.
Tawanan decided to learn how to cut hair, attending a hairdressing course to refine the skills she learned on YouTube for years. She now has an average of 2 to 3 clients per day in the past 2 months, while missing her time at work.
I haven't worn this uniform for a very long time. I miss it a lot. I miss my colleagues. I miss the atmosphere at work. I miss the passengers. Most of the passengers, no matter what languages they speak or what nationalities they are sharing a good vibe. I'm very stressed because I have a fixed cost of paying my mortgage monthly. If this situation continues, I might have to sell my house because it's a big debt I have to take care of.
Tawanan is not the only cabin crew affected. 37-year-old Kosit Ratanasopan is also affected, but has been working in the past month as a delivery man, stylishly carrying food to customers around Bangkok on his Ducati motorbike. Trading his cabin crew uniform for a delivery jacket has been tough, but Kosit said he's making more than 1,000 baht. That's about $31 per day. Just enough to support his dad and sister, who also cook dozens of meals, boxed so that Kosit helps to sell online.
In my work field, if I don't get to fly, I don't earn an income. Once airlines were grounded, I knew that I had to find a new job. Then, I realized food service might be an alternative business during the COVID-19 crisis, so I started selling food online and joined a food delivery application company called Grab.
Faced with an uncertain future, Kosi said he has been stressed out, but riding a motorbike has helped him cope with delivery.
I love motorbikes. Anyone who rides a motorbike probably understands that riding a bike makes you feel free and less stressed. The stress is still there, but it can be compensated. My daily routine starts when I wake up around 8 to 9 a.m. to cook food to order, and I try to finish it within 10 a.m. I always wear a delivery uniform once I leave the house so I can start working immediately after finishing delivering ordered food.
Away from Thailand to Nigeria, this time the HANGAR's upholstery department for aircraft seats and aircraft seat covers is diversifying into the production of face masks. With a production target for 100,000 face masks per week, the materials to be used are stored up for disinfection.
This is one of the stores where you have temperature control. It's being disinfected every day to ensure that even as we receive all fabrics, original pure cottons, we have to subject them to disinfection. We first of all quarantine them before they come into the bonded store where you have materials that are ready for cutting.
With local flights soon to open up in Nigeria, tight health measures as advised by IATA is now the new normal, and this includes the wearing of face masks among passengers and crew.
Please refer to the safety instruction card kept in the seat pocket.
All on this edition of the program, and it's bye for now. Do stay safe. I'm Bukola Jo Oketumbi.